are the is the first page of answers. No, it's the only page, isn't it?
Gratitude for those who have served our country, and many of you have.
Yeah, it's the only page of answers. She got them all on one page. Way to go. 26 and 29 we technically hadn't learned yet, but we'll learn that today. Go ahead and check your answers to justifying statements.
So thank you for your service to us.
Would you like to talk about any of the homework problems from justifying statements, other than the two that we haven't learned, the ones that are Cpctc, which is today's lesson? Sorry about that, showing the answers again. You should have had the information to solve all of these, like I said, except for 26 and 29. You may get out your notes and you may title it Cpctc. Cpctc. Say it 5 times fast. Cpctc. So we were going to play like hangman with this, which I've done in previous years, but I gave you the notes page already, and so the answer is really already on the notes page. But this is a big part of geometry. This is something that you should leave geometry remembering. And we've honestly been using this concept since the first day of this unit, since last Thursday, I guess. So Cpctc means, can you guess what the things I gave you? Or look on your little proofs page. Corresponding parts, the space got taken out, of congruent, I can't spell, there we go, congruent triangles are congruent. There we go. Cpctc, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. I have a poem for you. So here's what I want to say about Cpctc, and then I'll do my poem. In other words, once you've proven the triangle's congruent by a shortcut, let's say we use a shortcut, okay, they're congruent by side angle side. Now that I've said they're congruent, I can now go further, and I can say any piece of this one triangle is congruent to the matching piece in the other triangle. So when it's when you go past proving them congruent, it's like, okay, I've established that they're congruent. Now I can say more about them. I can go further. I can go past. So that's what this is all about. Here's just a, I woke up this morning not feeling like I should. The doctor told me it's not good. Something has happened to me. I came down with Cpctc. Doc said when your triangles became identical, your corresponding parts measured equal. I said when corresponding parts were the same, congruent triangles were to blame. The bad news is Cpctc is very contagious. The good news is you can use it to be courageous. Solving proofs can be tough. Side, 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 angle, 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 side isn't always enough. Cpctc is the next device. You'll hear Miss Tanton give this advice. The test for Cpctc is to examine the geometry. Congruent triangles is the start. Cpctc is the very next part. To find the cure for Cpctc blues, wait for non-congruent triangles to hit the news. Doctors have no pills for my Cpctc ills. Okay, so the question is angle B congruent to angle E? And right now, if we were to just stare at this picture, we'd be like, no, they're not congruent because they don't have markings. But now we have more information. We have more tools in our tool belts. All right, so how do we use Cpctc? Here's how we do it. I'm going to reveal the answer one little rectangle at a time. So first, we need to say that the triangles are congruent. That's what we say first. We make a statement. Triangle BAC is congruent to triangle EDF. Then we say why. So we say that they're congruent and we say what shortcut we used. We used side angle side. That was our shortcut. Then we say this. Does anyone know what those 3 dots mean? I used it all the time in college in my proofs. Anybody? Ooh, Angela got it. It means therefore. It does. So do you have to write out the word therefore? Nope, you can just use the dots. So the triangles are congruent by side angle side. Therefore, angle B is congruent to angle E. That was what the question was. And then we say why? by Cpctc. So here's the formula. You say that they're congruent, then you say why. Then you say what else is congruent on top of it. It's like your toppings on your sundae. And then you say why. Well, why is B congruent to E? Because corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. If I've already said that these equal, then even though there's no arcs here, I know these are equal because the triangles are congruent. That's how I know. Let's try another one. Is angle 1 congruent to angle 2? So, it might be congruent, it might not. But if angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, first we have to establish that the triangles are congruent. So let's do it. Let's mark what we know we can mark. Reflexive property of equality allows us to add tick marks to BC, since BC is congruent to BC. Now we can make a statement. We can say triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DBC. Does the order matter? Absolutely matters. You have to write it in the right order. Then we say why. They're congruent by side, side, side. Therefore, now we write what the question was asking. Therefore, angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. And then we say why. By Cpctc. So this is like kind of writing a proof, but it's just a one-sentence proof. Okay? So we say they're congruent, we say why. Then we say what else we know, and we say why. Cpctc. Okay, let's try another one. Is angle A congruent to angle B? We don't know yet. Let's investigate. We are the investigators. I'm going to add tick marks because of the reflexive property of equality. Then I notice I can also add a right angle actually, because we know that a straight angle has 180 degrees, linear pair. Now we can make a statement. Triangle A, B, nope, not triangle ABC. Got too used to that. Triangle ADC is congruent to triangle BDC by, is it hypotenuse leg? Be careful, just because it's a right triangle doesn't mean it's hypotenuse leg. No, it's side angle side. Therefore, angle A is totally congruent to angle B by Cpctc. And we are literally doing one-sentence proofs here, people. Okay. Already did that. Okay, so now we're going to do what I promised we would do yesterday. Yesterday, I gave you the hypothesis, I gave you the conclusion, you had to say the why. Today, we're going to take one of those away. I'm going to give you the hypothesis, you have to give me the conclusion and the why. Okay, let's go over them. Given, this is what's given to you. Point D is the midpoint of AC. What do we conclude when we know there's a midpoint? Write it down. What is the conclusion? Good. The conclusion is that I would go to my picture and I would add tick marks. If I knew D was a midpoint, I would add tick marks. What are those tick marks communicating? They're communicating that segment AD is congruent to segment CD. That is what they're communicating. That is the conclusion when your hypothesis is midpoint. And then the why, we took care of that yesterday. We know the why. Definition of midpoint. Okay, next one. Given segment BD bisects ABC. So you always ask yourself, okay, if I were given that information, what would I add to my picture? So go to ABC, what would I add? I would add arcs. What do those arcs even mean? Those arcs mean that angle ABD is congruent to angle CBD. And then from yesterday, what's the reason? Definition of angle bisector. Is this making sense? Is this pretty easy? Okay, let's keep going then. Given BD is perpendicular to AC. You ask yourself, hey, if I knew two segments were perpendicular, what would I go and add to my picture? I would add that to my picture. So my conclusion is angle ADB and angle CDB are right angles. Now you're probably wondering, could I have written as my conclusion that their measures are 90? Yes, you could, but I need to say that they're right angles because of because of my y. So I'd rather you say that they're right angles than say that they're 90 degrees because my y is definition of perpendicular lines. And if I was writing a proof, the next thing I would say is that they're congruent. And my reason would be because of the right angle congruence theorem. So I would want to use the word right angles. So later, I could use the right angle congruence theorem. Hope that makes sense. Question? Hello? Okay, next one. Given BD bisects AC, if I had that information, I would go to my picture, AC just got bisected. So I would add tick marks. Those tick marks are really communicating that segment AD is congruent to segment CD. And what's the reason? Definition of segment bisector. Doing good, doing good. We've got a couple more. Given segment AB is congruent to segment BC, what would I conclude? How would I go past that? How would I go further? There's two good answers to this one. There's two good answers. I'm going to go with this answer, but I know what your other answer could have been. I'm going to go further, and I'm going to say that angle A is congruent to angle C. What allows me to say that? It's the isosceles triangle theorem. But you could have also said, your conclusion could have been, let me give you part B, I'll do it in a different color. Your conclusion could have also been, triangle ABC is isosceles. You could have stated that. And then your reason would have been definition of isosceles. But I'm going to tell you that this one is going to be more beneficial to us because if we're doing theorems, we need things to be congruent, and so that one would be more beneficial. Do you see the difference between definition of isosceles and the isosceles triangle theorem? The definition just says, hey, if two sides are congruent, this triangle is isosceles. The theorem says, hey, if two sides are congruent in an isosceles triangle, then the angles opposite are congruent. And the converse would be, if the angles are congruent, then the sides opposite are congruent. So hopefully that you have that straight in your mind. Number 6 is a big one, guys. A big one, a big one, a big one. It'll be on your homework, so don't worry if you don't have time to write this down in your notes. Don't worry. Given segment AB is parallel to segment CD, what can we conclude? Students often pick the wrong pair of angles. I can conclude that alternate interior angles are congruent, but don't pick the wrong alternate interior angles. I'm going to do like I taught you, and I'm going to make the letter Z out of my parallel lines in my transversal. I hope that once I make that letter Z, it's more obvious which ones are congruent. It's not 3 and 4. These, the ones touching the sides of the Z, those are my alternate interior angles. So what can I conclude? Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. What is my reason? Alternate interior angle theorem. How are we doing? Is that okay that it's not 3 and 4? See how 3 is like outside of the letter Z? It's not even in my letter Z. So don't pick the wrong ones. Oh, I did have one more. Sorry, I promised that was the last one. This is really the last one for real. Okay. Given AC is congruent to AC, check. AB is congruent to AD, check. and BAC is congruent to DAC. Okay, I'm given a lot of stuff. We were lucky. What can we conclude if those are our givens? We can conclude that the triangles are congruent. Triangle BAC is congruent to triangle DAC, and Y, side, angle, side. We didn't do any Cpctc ones. I wonder if I have one, if I still have more, if I'm still lying to you. Do we? Oh, that one's just another one where it's going to be, what is it going to be, like angle, side angle it looks like. Let's see if I have a Cpctc one. No, I don't. Tonight's homework is quite lengthy, okay? No, not on today's quiz, Kendra, not till next week. Don't worry about it. Tonight's homework is quite lengthy. If you don't have enough time to do all the homework, I always recommend doing it all, but let's pretend you don't have enough time. These are the ones that would give you a good mixed review of everything you need to see. Does that make sense? It's a long homework. I still would love for you to do all of it. If you just can't, don't do 1 through 9. That won't give you a mixed review. That won't give you a little bit of everything. So write these numbers down if you think you might not be able to do all the homework tonight because of how long it is. Write these numbers down. These will get you a little taste of all the different ones you need to practice. You may now begin your quiz.